Hey, I normally don't like doing videos like this where I talk about something that's kind of maybe in a bit of the gray area, but I've had my fair share of issues with Powercolor GPUs and other stuff like that. So this card is a card that I had or was meaning 2 years ago in an old computer. I no longer use this card anymore, and it no longer works because I, in a fit of rage, actually destroyed the PCIe lanes with a wrench because I was so pissed off at the card of how the hotspot temperatures were, and just overall, just I hated this card. This one still works perfectly fine. This was actually my main GPU that I was using. It was actually a 6650 XT. The card will probably still work with a good thermal paste, and I do have some screws up here. Here we are. We actually have the screws that are left over that I saved in a bag. And I, let's just say, tried to use to reduce the hotspot temperatures opening this up. I actually made the situation worse because, well, yeah, the cooling on. You're probably like, oh yeah, that seems like an adequate cooler. It actually wasn't. Let's just say this card had so many issues with hotspot temperatures reaching up to like 5 degrees Celsius. You're probably like, oh, that's fine, but it's not. 105 degrees Celsius, that's hot for a hotspot. Now, the card that I have now, which is actually a reference 6700 XT, the hotspot temperature, the highest I've seen it go is about 94, 95, and that's like worst case scenario. No upscaling, just uncapped frame rate, pushing that thing hard as it can. That's the highest I've reached it. And I put it at 65, 70 fan speed, and it sounds barely audible. Like it's like it makes a sound, but it's nothing too loud. Also, the coolers on both of these, they are so noisy, especially this one. It literally sounds like a PS4. I know this card was originally meant for a laptop, so let's actually go through the cooler. So as you see the cooler design on this card, I actually didn't wipe off the thermal paste all the way because I actually tried to salvage thermal paste and it didn't work out so well. So yeah, this is the cooler design of this card. As you can see, it's smaller, gets the job done. This card also had thermal issues as well, even when it wasn't, even with its stock config, it still had issues, hot spot temperature issues that I knew. Even the core temperatures, I've seen this thing at like 80 degrees one time, and I was freaking out because it sounded so loud. The memory temperature was like 100 C. I was playing Scum with a bunch of friends, well, former friends, about a few years ago, and this GPU, it just sounded like a jet engine, and it was overheating. It was hitting the highest hotspot temperature, and that is when I never opened up the card, never did anything with the card. I don't think I'm ever going to buy a Powercolor card ever again just because of how many issues I have had even not opening up. I've never opened, like, opened this card up twice. The first time I opened it up was I actually repasted it because I thought something was wrong with the thermals, and the hotspot temperature again would reach up to like 106, 107, and the memory temperature would reach almost its max. Now, the card wouldn't shut down, it would just feel really hot around, like to the touch around here, and it was bad. It was basically the same as this one, but it was still hot. So I would go to repaste it. I think I used MX4 on this. I kept the memory pads the same because they didn't tear, so I just kept the memory pads the same. This was back then when I didn't know much about repasting a card and memory pads and all that other stuff, and I just repasted the card. And also, you can see I cut the wire off good rage too because this card's practically useless. I know it's e-waste throwing it away, but this card is garbage. Like the 6500 XT, it's a garbage card. Like, I wouldn't let anyone use this, hence why I destroyed it, because I don't feel like selling it, because I think selling this card is a bad idea, and I think this thing is not even worth $70, not 80. Like, it's not worth anything. It's just a garbage card. It's so hampered back, 4 gigs. It's not even meant for 1080p. Like, most games will use about 6-7 gigs 2042 in that mine uses like 7 gigs, not even on high, 8. So yeah, this card could handle 2042 at ultra. But another issue, let's kind of tie these two cards together. Hotspot temperatures. Both of these cards had the same hotspot temperature issue, even even with factory pasting, factory everything like that. This card still had a hotspot temperature issue. I don't know what's going on with Powercolor, like these previous generation cards. They're probably getting better now, but I probably will not buy a Powercolor card after the amount of issues that I've had with these cards. Honestly, the next cards that I probably will get from AMD are either Sapphire, or if I can find a used reference one like I did now, and that card is doing fine. Temperatures are fine. Power draw is fine too. So everything is in decent shape. Ray tracing performance is good too. So I did put a protective bracket onto here too, so this thing doesn't get damaged or anything like that. So I don't know if I will end up. I'll probably end up repasting this card and throwing it into another machine if I can. If not, then I'll just repaste the card, fix it up, see if the thermals are good, and just sell it. So, yep, terrible experience with Powercolor. The thermal design and the fans are probably the noisiest and the worst. Especially this, like, I know this does work since the TDP of the card is about, like, 143 watts, which, to me, that's not bad at all, but it's just the hotspot temperatures, like, especially these fans, oh, I fucking dropped it. These fans, they're just so noisy. At 65, like, fan speed, these are uncomfortably loud. Like, they are like, woo, not like, like, it sounds like a PS4, like, dying, basically. It's not like the typical, fan whooshing out sound like the reference cooler is. It's like kind of like a steady, to me, that's not, like, I like that sound. I like the steady wind just sound. But this cooler especially was the loudest because it was just a single fan. And the TDP of this card was like, what, 100 watts? Not even 100 watts, 103 watts. The most I've seen this card go up to was like 110 watts, 120, and that's when I overclocked I overclocked this card a lot, and it was able to overclock to the moon, and it was like, this is probably the best overclocking card that I've ever used. This card I never overclocked, and because I was so terrified of the hotspot temperatures. I think I ran it with maybe increased power limits, something like that, but I don't know. This card I never really overclocked or touched that much. This card in Linux, it would get ungodly hot, and it was, yeah, it's just Powercolor cards I probably will not end up buying. I just wanted to make a short video. Not only short, being just ranting about issues that I've had with cards. I ran out of thermal paste and thermal pads, so yeah, getting a new card was probably the best thing anyway. I got it pretty much for nothing, so yep, short video there. Fucking GPUs, especially nowadays with the tariffs and all that other stuff. GPUs are hard to come by, and having issues like this, it just ruins it for you. So this card's probably going to go in the trash since I destroyed it, and rightfully, I know I'm going to get a comment that's like, oh, you should have destroyed it, you should have just sold it for money. Like, look, I'd feel bad selling this thing. I'd feel really bad selling this card because it's not good. It's not good value. It sucks. It has memory bandwidth stuttering issues. It doesn't matter what PCIe generation you put it on. It's just, it's an awful card. Don't buy it.